Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, traders. Can you hear me and see my screen? If you could just type yes in the questions. All right, good morning. Good morning, everybody. All right, good morning, Edson. Good morning, Melissa. All right, well, let's get started here. And jump right in. Okay, welcome to the Bookmap Platform Details webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. Risk disclaimer: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. For more information, you go to bookmap.com. The software product comes along with education. You get access to the educational course, which is a 4-part educational course. We'll go through a little bit of it today, but that comes along with the subscription, and as well access to the advanced order flow live webinars that follow this webinar. So in another about 27 minutes or so, we have that webinar. And what we do in that webinar is we just go through the order flow, the phenomena that Bookmap is uncovering, and then how to use it, what we're looking for, and then we anticipate future price movement based on what we see. So we have the course, and then we have the education, or the live webinar that supports the content in the education. All right, so that's the idea behind it. Let's take a look at the website quickly and go through it. Just need to do this for the new traders in the room here. Welcome. So that's to begin with. Okay, so just scroll down here a bit and we can see just a quick intro video. It's a couple of minutes long to Bookmap, some information about Bookmap. And then down here, this NASDAQ total view, Bookmap does connect to US equities. Okay, I'll go over that in just a minute, but here we go. So connectivity. So let's define what Bookmap is first. It is a visualization software financial trading platform. Okay, so we're not a data provider, we're a platform. You will need to provide your data for futures and or US equities. Okay, so you can see there's some other platforms listed here as well, like NinjaTrader, TTX Trader Pro, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation. So you can connect directly to them via the API with Bookmap. However, we're a platform just like they are. So you can connect directly by CQG, Rhythmic, Gain, IQ Feed, Transact, and Dev Experts. Now this Dev Experts connection down here, this is for the US equities. Okay, it's that NASDAQ total view and NASDAQ last sale. All right, so that's the liquidity that you're getting from for the US equities. Okay, a bit further down, the packages here. So you can subscribe monthly or yearly. You get a 20% discount if it's yearly. And then you can see the different versions here. So we have digital and global and digital plus and global plus. So the digital version here, it's free. No credit card is required. You can download it, and it is real time. You get one digital currency at a time. You get limited support and the basic education. Okay, this webinar is considered part of the basic education. But that's really all you get. You're not really able to record your data. You're not able to replay it. You cannot trade from the chart in live market, and you only get access to one digital currency. All right. You also get a delayed feed for the U.S. equities, which is that NASDAQ total view or DX feed. Okay. Digital Plus version allows you to trade right from the Bookmap chart. You can record and replay. You get the advanced education as well and full support. The global version, this connects to futures as well as the DX feed for US equities. Okay, and you get the advanced education, of course. Global Plus This is for futures and U.S. equities. They both connect to that GDAX exchange for the digital currencies as well. So that comes along with it. That's why it's called global. It includes everything. And the global plus, what you're getting is the access to the proprietary indicators we put together. Okay, so for example, the one-click live trading, you can trade right from the Bookmap chart for futures and equities. Real nice advantage because you have the liquidity heat map in front of you. Therefore, you can front run high liquidity or hide your stops behind high liquidity. There's large lot tracker and balance indicators, iceberg detector, and correlation tracker. So these proprietary indicators are specifically made for understanding the order flow better. For example, the large lot tracker, we're starting to identify not only phenomena in the order book, but specific players in the order book. Same with this iceberg detector. It detects when we're starting to run into icebergs, okay, that larger players are going to use. All right. Okay, social media, all sorts of new stuff on social media here, as you can see. At Bookmap _Pro, that's our Twitter handle here. Then our YouTube page, you can subscribe here. You can see that intro videos, there's a playlist here on the home page, as well as features and components playlist. You can click right here on the playlist and view all of these if you like. And then these video snippets, I would recommend watching some of these because these go over the phenomena in the order flow. It's really what Bookmap is showing you, how it gives you an advantage, and putting those pieces together within your trading plan. Okay, this is the kind of data that we go through in a lot of detail in the advanced order flow webinars. All right. Okay, well, let's jump into Bookmap and take a look here. What's going on? We're going to look at the S&P E-mini. Unless you guys have other suggestions, we can look at some other markets as well. I also have some equities here like Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and Netflix. So if we want to look at some of those, just let me know. We also have the digital currencies. So we can look at Bitcoin, US dollar, or Ethereum, US dollar. So if you guys are curious about that, no problem. Okay, so looking at this Bookmap chart, let's define what it is we're looking at here, and then we'll get into some of the specifics in the order flow. Okay, 3 elements on this chart. Now, it looks, for those of you who are new, this is going to look rather foreign, the way that we visualize the data. It's actually really, really simple and straightforward. 3 elements are on this chart: the historical best bid and offer, the volume dots that trade here on the historical best bid and offer, and then this liquidity heat map. All this map is the recording of the DOM data, the depth of market, and it's just projected on the chart historically. Okay, that's all it is. So let's just get a little more reference here. We're turning on the candlestick chart, and let me turn off everything else. Okay, because this is a view we usually digest here for our trading. Okay, this is a 5-minute candlestick chart, and that's it, right? Open, high, low, and close of a 5-minute period. And that's really the problem here with the candlestick chart is, number one, it's aggregated. And there's only 4 data points within this aggregation. There's all sorts of data that we want to know what happened inside of this 5-minute period. And just to see some of the microstructure and elements before you see this breakdown here. There's something that's going to occur in here, and we're going to see it. And the quickest and easiest way to see that is just by very simply displaying the historical best bid and offer, right? Because we can zoom into this area here now, and this is what happened, okay? So we actually, you can see we kind of based sideways here for a bit, and then we had a quick jaunt down, okay? And we actually came back and tested several times here, once, twice, and 3 or 4 times in here. There's a couple of little highs here, or even this one here. So it's testing to see if it's going to if this breakdown is for real, and if there's enough selling pressure or lack of buying and maybe exhaustion here. These are all questions that we want to answer emphatically, and we will, looking at Bookmap. All of that data is simply not within this candlestick chart. Okay, so and that's the problem, is that aggregation. So all of this kind of data here with the microstructure gives us insight. Now, where it really helps is when you turn on the volume. Okay, and you see the volume dots here, because now we understand precisely where the volume is trading, what type it is, and the size of it as well. Okay, and then you can start to see engage the speed here too. Like look at how they hit the bid pretty hard here, and you see these red dots pulling the market down. Actually, quite a bit of buying within this area here. So it's kind of funny to see this. Every now and then, we see this, but we get the follow through here very, very clearly with the sellers winning the battle here. Okay, so we can see the back and forth, and they're trying to get it back up to some of the highs here. And here's your 930 open, right? They're trying to get it back up in these areas, and it's failing. Okay, and let me take the candlestick chart off, because it's right in the way here of seeing this. And note here that there's some buying up in this area here. Okay, and then note these little points up here and this point here. Okay, there's no buying at all, or very little buying in this area here. Okay, it's exhausting out. Okay, there's no buying pressure, so it kind of reverts back into the range here. Okay, and then right below here is where you get the breakdown. Okay, and you can see it very, very clearly in the dots. Okay, now how the red dots here, this is them getting very aggressive selling, market sell orders, hitting the bid and taking price lower outside of this range. Okay, and there's your move. All right, so let's zoom into this area here, because I just want to show, without the heat map on, these are just two elements on the chart. Okay, historical best offer is the red line, best bid is the green line, and then you can see all these dots here. Okay, let's bring up the dot size. The dots are the aggressor classification of volume. Okay, so green dot is an aggressive market buy order. They crossed the spread, they paid up, and they took liquidity off of the best offer. That's what transpired here. Okay, and you can see these huge clusters, and you can see some of these pie displays of volume. So many transactions took place here so quickly that we display the overall delta of it and show you that the majority of this was aggressive buying, and there was some selling in here. But this is what I want to show, is like this is giving an aggregate kind of overall view. But in Bookmap, we record every single market event. We're just graphically showing this aggregate view. So if I zoom in here, you're going to note how I pull apart all that trading activity, and you can see exactly what occurred here. And we'll continue to zoom in here, right? And note, this is really what occurred, right? We can continue to zoom into these areas and split apart all of these trades. This is actually, we're down at microsecond level here, so millions of seconds. And we can see this is one trade for 6 lots. Okay, that's what transpired here. Okay, and as I zoom back out, we show all of this cluster of trade activity and flurry of activity. But as I zoom back out, it will just be kind of graphically aggregated into a bigger dot. Okay, so that's how that works. And those are the two elements that we're showing here. Now let's add on that third element. Okay, that is the heat map. Okay, and let's go to the current market for that. Okay, so the heat map, and let's turn it on. In the current market, another element that we want to understand is the depth of market. Okay, the dome. We want to understand where traders are lined up in the auction, okay, to provide liquidity. And we look to the dome, and we can see these numeric values here. on the offer. This is liquidity. These are contracts here. Traders are providing liquidity at these price levels. And here's on the bid. So this is the current state of the auction. Okay, to the right of this vertical white line, this is the current best bid and offer, and you can see last traded volume is this number here. Okay, now you can see the heat map is changing in color. What's occurring is these numeric values are changing. The liquidity is changing. When that liquidity changes, it's reflected in the graphical representation in the heat map. So that's all the heat map is just a record of what had occurred graphically for these areas of high liquidity. Okay? So the adding and pulling of liquidity, this is what it looks like here in the heat map. Okay, we can see these striations in the heat map. Here's the scale up here. Okay, it's dark gray or black is very low liquidity, all the way on up to orange being the highest liquidity. So this is the adding and pulling of liquidity. Okay, and what this allows us to do is start to understand the intent of traders in the auction. Okay, there's all sorts of things that we're going to start to see and unfold. Okay, look how they're aggressively coming down here on the offer, right? At 24.5 and 25. Okay, that just popped into the book. Okay, we're seeing that price came down into this area of high liquidity here and traded into it. Right, and let's zoom into this area because we want to get specific here, because a lot of traders will say, well, you know, I don't really look at the dome because it's all they're all fake orders anyway. Well, we can make the distinction. Okay, we can zoom into these areas and we can see precisely what occurred here. Okay, so yeah, it is possible to know if it's fake or not. And here we go. So price came down into this area and they're pretty aggressive here, hitting the bid here. You can see the red dots, and we trade into this area here at 22 3/4, and they start to pull. Okay, so not a lot traded here, and they didn't show the intent to trade. Okay, we actually come right back up and test into this guy who's being very aggressive. This is looks like a potential type of spoof order here, and he pulls as well. Okay, so there's really not really seeing much conviction here in the auction. They're really not staying in the book and getting filled. Okay, so we want to understand that it's important to put these pieces together. Okay, I mean, clearly the sellers are in control here, as you can see. This is very indicative of the trending market in this environment. Is you can just see like more sellers at lower lows. They're hitting the bid, bringing price lower. We kind of get exhaustion on the pullbacks, as you can see these little points here. And look at the buying. There's not a lot of buying up here as compared to the clusters of selling at these lower lows. Okay, these lower highs, there's less buying. That's pretty typical. It is also pretty typical that you'll see high liquidity here on the bid, and a lot of times it will go right into these areas, and they will transact, they will trade. We're not seeing that right now. They're pulling the majority of their liquidity, okay, as we can see in the heat map. So I can go maybe back and find maybe we need to go a little lower and test these guys down here at 18, and we'll see if maybe they stay in the book or not. Okay, or maybe we'll come up and test these guys that are being aggressive on the offer. Usually we don't see a lot of liquidity on the offer in a trend, on a downtrend. Okay, usually it's pretty dark in these areas, and that's why the market exhausts out. So no one's interested in the auction. They're looking for trading on the bid at lower areas. Okay, yeah, really, they're pulling on both sides here. So just it's the aggressor here that's moving this back and forth at the moment. Anyway, it's always let's try to find some areas here where they did stay in the book. Okay, like this looks pretty good. Yeah, he pulled as well. Well, we'll notice it. We'll see these areas here. Maybe we need to bring up the heat map settings a bit. No, that should be pretty good. Here we go. Okay, this is what it looks like. This is the distinction between fake liquidity and real liquidity right here. Right here they have high liquidity. We can use our hover over tool here. And you see there's 488 contracts here on the bid, okay, at this price level. And they trade right into it and they stayed in the book, okay? They had the intent to trade. These guys at 24 and a quarter, they wanted to trade, all right? And they stayed here. And you can see that, you know, the seller is hitting into it, right? It's basically absorbing all of that. This is absorption, right? This is what it looks like. They stayed in the book, and you know, they're starting to pull maybe a little bit in some of these areas, but it's also trading through it. You know, so if there was a little bit more selling, we could have come down into you know, this 23 and a half area here. Instead, what do we find? Lack of selling. Okay, at the end, like there's no more selling here. We rotate back up and we find buyers instead. Okay, and they lift the offer pretty aggressively here. Okay, so that's what absorption looks like, and this is real liquidity. Here's again like fake liquidity when they start to pull, when they come back up. Right, so you can very clearly define that and know precisely what traded and what didn't. Okay, and I think that will help you quite a bit understand the position of some of the larger players who are absorbing. All right, let's see here. Well, we came down into this 19 area. Okay, it looks like quite a bit traded down here. We see some big clusters of volume here. And looks like buyers are just starting to jump in on the other side here. Okay, and they're bidding up here, and he just pulled. All right. Well, let's you know, kind of defined what Bookmap is. Also, order flow and a trend here. We're just going through some of the basics. In the advanced webinar, we're going to start to get into, you know, and I'll go over a bit of it right now. But you know, we're looking at also a kind of a random walk of price here. Okay, and I'm going to cover this in detail. So if you guys are attending the next webinar, then this will be good. And this is important to understand because we want to understand liquidity and the aggressor within a context of randomness here, like a trend. Like, why does it continue to bounce back and forth like this? Well, I mean, that's just there's, you know, markets are dynamic and complex. There's a lot of different buyers and sellers with different objectives, and we can see that reflected. But this is the kind of statistical average as we see that traders are valuing price of the ES at lower lows. Okay, and it's holding this structure right now. Okay, if we're going to look for a reversal, we first need to have something happen, maybe within the structure here or outside of the structure. Right, and we want to notice that distinction, and then we can start to look for the structure being tested and broken. Okay, and then we start to read the order flow at that point. Does it accept or reject above or below those areas? And then you know, we look to see how the auction is behaving, as well as the aggressor with the volume. Okay, and it gives us insight here, like potential, for example, right now for reversal. Okay, look at the buyers here. Okay, we just broke this little structure, but we need to accept above this area here of this 18 and a half. Okay, and in terms of structure, okay, well, it's true that we broke the trend line, but I'm actually looking for more volume to accept an aggressor, or, you know, a lot of buying volume to accept up above this area here around 20 and a half. that would be more insightful. Else, we can very easily trade back into this range here and then even test down into high liquidity down here at 15. Okay, so just keeping an eye on things right now. We note that this is this is important that we did break this. We also look at the lower low here. Okay, it had some room to go into 15 here, okay, and they didn't touch it. Right, so although it's still making lower lows and huge volume down here, okay, the breakdown is not as consistent as it was earlier. So anyway, keep an eye on that and then look for either follow through to the downside here or that potential for that reversal. Okay, and we'll note it in the order flow. Okay, here we come down into 15 here. Okay, sellers are they're hitting into this. There they go. They just hit right into all that high liquidity. Okay, and we're making lower lows here. Right, so sellers, this is advertising here in a sense. It didn't follow through, and you see the sellers come in. Okay, hitting it pretty hard here. Yeah, there's buyers are starting to come in on the other side as well, though. But still, like as mentioned, like we know who's in control. Okay, and we want to keep an eye on the structure here. Anyway, I got to go. Jump to the next webinar. Let me know if you have any questions. Else we will catch up with you guys tomorrow. Okay. All right. Thanks.